Hi class, this is the video lecture for Thursday, April 23rd. Today we're going to be talking about the internet, and we're just going to be glossing over the internet to show you some interesting aspects and the way the internet has changed the world. So let me just share my screen here. Hope everyone is okay. By the time you see this, I should have graded all the papers. A lot of people did really well. Thank you for the hard work. I know it's not easy during this time. I hope you guys are working on the group projects. So how many people think online world is different from the offline world? A lot of people say this, and as we'll see in this class, the online world, obviously I can't see your hands. Let me know in the discussion board though. A lot of people think that the offline world, that the online world is fake. The internet's, you have your older parents or relatives that say, online, like it's some separate thing. Maybe in the beginning of the internet it was. Now it's so ingrained in our life that it's basically real. It's the same thing. So we live in an ever-connected world where all aspects of our life can be connected online, for better or worse. How many of you know about the Silk Road? Not the thing in ancient Asia that connected spices and fabrics. We're talking about the online Silk Road. We're watching some of this video.
What if I were to tell you that there was a huge online trade in illegal drugs and services happening right now under the noses of the police? What if I were to tell you that accessing that black market was as easy as installing a web browser? Or what if I were to tell you that the police are almost powerless to do anything about it? We spoke to a number of people who've used this black market and they told us of their experiences. So here's Sam's journey into the dark web.
The internet. With just a quick search, you can buy almost anything. Almost. But what if you want something a little less legitimate? Like, say, some heroin. Well, actually, there is a place for that too, but just like in real life, you have to go underground. Welcome to the dark web. It's the side of the internet that you just can't get to through Google or standard browsers. It can only be accessed through easy-to-find specialist software, which sends your signal down a maze of routes, making it almost untraceable. It was designed for political activists and those who didn't want the government tracking their actions. But it's frequented by criminal elements, including child pornography rings, gangs claiming to be hitmen, and very real drug dealers.
Something special came in the mail.
Libertarian vlogger Adam Kokesh of Adam vs. the Man amazed his subscribers by buying hallucinogen DMT on one such site of the Silk Road and, inverted commas, enjoying it online. So just what is the Silk Road? Well, it's the eBay of the illicit world, in which buyers and sellers anonymously exchange drugs, books, and paraphernalia. Adam says it's an inevitable product of our times.
Fortunately, the Silk Road is a great solution to what is merely a temporary problem. The drug war creates a need for an online anonymous marketplace where you can evade that accountability. It just shows how futile the drug war is when people want to take control of their body chemistry, and if you try to stop them from doing that, they're going to find a way.
The site trades in an encrypted currency developed for computer games but bought and sold in real life, known as bitcoins, and users rely on a feedback system to ensure dealers are legitimate.
I feel much more safe consuming substances or anything that I would buy from Silk Road than I do even at a grocery store. You have solved one of the problems of the black market, which is lack of accountability. Anytime you point guns at people for what is normal economic activity and say, well, if you do that, if you exchange those goods and services, we're going to lock you in a cage, you have a great problem that is created, and that is that of accountability. On the Silk Road, you have both perfect anonymity for the sellers as well as perfect accountability, because you have an account where people can be rated, where they can be held accountable if something goes wrong. So for a dealer on the black market outside of the Silk Road, yeah, there's a little sketchiness to that, because someone could sell you something and then disappear. But on the Silk Road, people are actually have reputations, and their business is based on their reputations. It is a near perfect system. Now, I don't want to say that if you have something delivered to your door, nothing bad will happen to you, because that's not true. but you do have plausible deniability, and it is very difficult for them to prosecute in cases like that. It's not perfect, but it's still a heck of a lot safer than buying on the street.
But that doesn't mean you can't get burned buying drugs online. In spring 2012, one of the Silk Road's most trusted buyers, under the name Tony76, launched a fire sale of cut-price drugs whilst demanding upfront payment rather than the usual method of putting money into a digital holding pen. Buyers, trusting his good name, bought drugs thought to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, which never arrived because Tony vanished, taking the cash with him, never to be seen again. Likewise, there's nothing to stop law enforcement leaving bad feedback or selling fake drugs themselves, exploiting the one kink in the system's armour, that the often paranoid buyer and seller have to trust each other. The questions over trust and the obvious illegality of many of its products on the Silk Road and other websites like.
So let me just give you a preface and a background. I'm not advocating for drug use, but obviously people like to take recreational drugs. If I wanted to go buy drugs, theoretically, let's say, and I didn't know, I was new to the area, I could get robbed, I could get bad stuff, and this changes that. It makes it easier and safer. But the Silk Road is dangerous in its way because if you go on the dark web and if you don't know what you're doing, hackers can troll your IP address. They can install child pornography on your computer and demand a ransom of up to $5,000 to take it off or copy all your personal files. Please do not try to go on the Silk Road or the dark web unless you know what you're doing. It's not as easy. You can find tutorials online, but I'm advising against it. Don't use your own computer if you're curious. So what happened to the Silk Road? The FBI shut it down. The guy who created it, Computer Nerd, was arrested. Silk Road 2 popped up. Silk Road 2 shut down, popped up. The government cannot stop the dark web and these illicit underground things. Supposedly you can buy hitmen on this. You can buy organs. Let's say you need a kidney transplant and you're way down the list and you're gonna die, but you're rich. Go on Silk Road. There's been some instances in Wired magazine where a guy paid so much money to have his wife killed, and they found the Bitcoin transaction and tied it back to him. So please be careful about about looking through that. I advise if you're interested, just try to look at the videos of people doing it on YouTube than actually going to the Silk Road or whatever it's called now. So how do we get to the Silk Road? Here's the quick bits of internet history. So the internet was originally intended for the Department of Defense to send information packets and data. That was started in 1969. In 1971, Roy Tomlinson had created the first email and sent the first email. 1980, we had news groups formed at Duke University. 1984, we had The Well. It was an internet community of about 2,500 people that were sharing information and data. And then in 1994, we had the first blog, originally called the Weblog. It was started by a sophomore student, Justin Hall, as links.net, and apparently it's still there if you want to look it up. So internet took off in the mid-90s, as we talked about last time. Last class, computers got cheaper. We had things like that Apple with those one piece and the colors. We had Dell and Gateway that made computers affordable. But I don't know if you guys remember, maybe you're too young. You couldn't just go on the internet. You had to go on AOL. Remember those free discs, AOL version 9, AIM, the good old days. Hold on, let me go back. And going online was a pain. Remember this? This is how you had to get online. You had to have a house phone, and guess what? You could be in the middle of downloading some music on Napster, your mom picks up the phone, your aunt calls to pick it up. That's it. You gotta do it all. You lose everything, gotta do it all from the beginning. We're online now. Anyways, so now we're always online, right? Our Wi-Fi connects instantly. We set it up one time at Hofstra. We're always online. Our phones are always connected. We go home, everything's so fast and instantaneous. It's not bothersome, like that AOL video, whatever you use, Netscape. And we do everything online, and nothing shows that more than being stuck home for quarantine during the COVID-19 crisis. So even before this, we were ordering food, we were shopping for clothes, we watch shows, movies, you read books, listen to music. What other thing can you do online? Let me know on the discussion board. So another important date in computer history and internet history, Facebook was created in 2004 by Mark Zuckerberg at Harvard, and if you saw the movie, you know why his I don't know what word to use. He just wanted to rank females in his dormitory. So there were social networks before Facebook, such as MySpace and others, but Facebook is what really took off. At first, it was at Harvard, then it was at Ivy Leagues, then it was at every college. I'm old enough to know that when I was an undergrad, I think it was 2006. I first got a Facebook. You had to have a .edu email, so only people in college could get Facebook. And now everybody has Facebook. My grandmother has Facebook. Both my grandmothers have Facebook. You have relatives from other countries. This has lots of implications, as we'll see. Let me know what some implications of seeing all your family members on Facebook. If you guys had to block anybody because they're writing annoying things, or they're purporting or showing a view that you don't think is correct, I've had to do that a lot. So for those who didn't think real world, the online world was the real world, here are some examples. If I cheat online, am I cheating in real life? Of course. If I go to Ashley Madison, a notorious site for people to cheat from their marriage, or you even slide into somebody's DMs, you're going to get in trouble from your significant other. It's still cheating. It's just in the online world. It's the same thing. If I go to a bar and I meet somebody and I give them my number, it's the same thing as sliding into somebody's DM. You're still cheating. You're just doing it online. Cyberbullying, before online bullying, which is a thing from school, you got bullied, you ran home, and that was it. Now cyberbullying, these kids are doing it nonstop, 24/7. They're on their Facebook, they're on all their social media sites, and people have committed suicide because of the bullying was nonstop. It can happen 24/7, not just a school day. One other thing we have, it's called the Facebook Eye, and it doesn't only apply to Facebook, it applies to all social media sites. It's when we can't wait to tell our world something. Hey, I got 100 on my test. I did a good job on my paper. Check out my new sneakers. Look where I'm eating. Check out where I took my girlfriend to eat. Check out where I went for vacation. Check out my new Gucci belt. All these things that we cannot wait to share with our family. And we do it on Snapchat. We do it on Instagram. We do it on TikTok. It's just you wanting to brag about your life. Excuse me. So on top of that, a lot of us have what's called self-presentation online. People only post the good things about their life on Facebook. And this has come about, I don't know how many of you know about this. We have Finstagram versus Instagram. Instagram is where you post all the good things to a majority of people. And Finstagram is where you have another account that you only post to your close friends, and you'll post the real you, which is, oh, I did bad on my test. Somebody broke up with me. I'm feeling depressed. I can't wait to go outside, things like that. It's not only the real life. It's not only the good parts of your life, it's everything. We also have LinkedIn where we showcase our professional selves. I'm not posting anything that I'm posting on Instagram on LinkedIn. That's strictly for professional stuff. And we also have online dating. I don't know how many of you, a lot of people are using these sites. They have a big bump in users and increase because everybody's home. There's no bars or social settings to meet people. People only posting the best photos of themselves. People only the most flattering. They're not posting an ugly photo of themselves or something that's not flattering. And sometimes that may not show who they truly are, as we'll see in a little bit. So do you think online relationships can exceed those of face-to-face? Probably not in case of certain scenarios. If let's say, for example, I met somebody on what's Tinder, right? And we talk and talk and talk. Who knows if when quarantine's over, I meet up and we don't have the spark in person. So in some cases, no, but in other cases, people in rural areas, yes. So think about it like this. Let's say, for example, I have a really rare disease and I'm all alone in a rural area, or I'm LGBTQ community and nobody in my town associates like that, and I'm an outcast in my town because it's a conservative Christian town. I can go to these online chat rooms and meet people in the LGBT community or with that rare disease and find comfort and understanding, chat with them, talk with them, even video chat with them, and feel connected and feel like even though I'm in this small part of the world where people don't accept me, there's a whole another world out there where they can accept me. So yes, online relationships can exceed those that are face-to-face in that type of scenario. But like all relationships, sometimes there are abuses and sometimes they aren't real. So we're going to watch a few videos about this. Okay.
falling for a military man, giving him their heart and their money, and he has no idea.
Yeah, the I-Team's Casey Geraldo found out that soldier lives right here in southeast Wisconsin, and people are using his photo for some very unpatriotic reasons. Casey.
That's right, Stephen Carroll. Here's what's happening. Thieves steal pictures of military members, create fake profiles, and strike up conversations online. It happened to a Greenfield woman using pictures of that local man.
I give my time, my personal information, my life, my interest, my heart.
Lynn Kennedy fell in love with Kevin Meyer.
He would send pictures, and he would send videos, and he would talk about his life and the struggles in the military.
Kennedy spent hours messaging on Facebook.
Kevin came back and wanted to get married.
So you sent him money.
I thought he was a real guy who was in the real army and was in distress.
But this Kevin Meyer Kennedy messaged over the course of a year is not this Kevin Meyer who we talked to in Oak Creek. When did you find out that there were other Kevin Meyers out there?
I got messages, like, I only got like one at first. Like, it started off pretty slow where it was like, hey, like, I've been talking to you. It was just, like maybe once a month, then 3 times a month. Now, almost every single day.
It's a common scheme. People using another person's picture to lure someone into a romance before asking for money.
Why would somebody want to take my photos? Like, why would somebody want to trick people into pretending they're me?
Kennedy says she gave the fake Meyer $500. He asked for more, but she didn't have it. That's when she says he started sending her graphic pictures of injured American soldiers.
I felt like I was leaving him to die, like those pictures, and those pictures are so vivid and so real. And I thought I was killing somebody, so I didn't want to live if I was killing someone.
That feeling drove Kennedy to a suicide attempt.
The victim has no redress that sent the money. She just feels stupid, which is something we've got to work on with them to convince them that they're not.
Ruth Grover runs a group called Scam Haters United. They report fake profiles on social media and support the men and women dealing with the fallout.
They've been manipulated and controlled from day one because it is total control. Scammers will say good night with romantic words. They will say good morning with romantic words. They will become the friend and the lover that woman wants.
She's learned the deep damage these schemes cause to the victims and the real military men too.
They're fighting ISIS and they can't fight scammers.
All right. So what do you guys think about the video? Let me just pull up the lesson again. So let's get real for a second. Why are they using that guy's profile? He's tall. He's got a beard. He's in the military. He's built, so forth and so forth. And let's be real. You got to know your level, right? I mean, I feel sad for the lady. She gave money, whatever. But if, like, a model comes messaging me, hey, baby, what's up? Obviously, I got to know that's not my level. It might be a scam and could get tricked. And people have to be careful. People have gotten robbed on Tinder. Guys are so desperate. They're like, oh, come to my house right away. They go, and it's people with guns robbing them. So be very careful with these apps and websites, and it happens all the time. We'll watch another clip. Let me know what you guys think about that lady and what's been happening.
Are you ready to do this? Mm-hmm. Tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm 28 years old. I'm living in Kiev, Ukraine. I joined Anastasia Date like maybe 8 years ago. A lot of girls know about this site in Ukraine because a lot of guys around the world want to date Ukrainian girls. They're beautiful and crazy. Hi, babe. I miss you. Caesar texted me, and we start to communicate. When I saw his profile, it seems like pretty
He
nice.
looks like a bootleg Dr. Dre,
I like
no?
the way how he talked to me.
Yeah, baby. Your man loves you. How I look. I look sexy like that.
My type is usually tall guys with a blonde hair, blue eyes, something like that.
Were you physically attracted to him at the time?
Mm-mm. But I like what he do to me. He sent me flowers. It catch my attention. And he's American, so it's pretty good.
Can't wait to be with you. Love you, my husband.
During this time, of course, I talk to other guys because it's like, it's normal. I cannot like stop for only one man. When I don't have ring on my head, I'm free.
Love you, and I miss you.
Yeah. So I laughed because the guy had a short tie. That's always a bad sign if somebody doesn't know how to tie. Anyway, so I don't know if you guys can see my screen. Check out this little box here. And this really happened. He had sent her $40,000. He never met her. So what happens if when he does meet her? Maybe he's thinking she's gonna be all lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy, and she's like, get away from me. Why would he send that much money to somebody he's never met? I have no idea. But this works on both sides of the coin. She's using him, and he should know he's getting played. I don't know. You can follow up, let me know in the comments and things like that. And that show is great for that if you want that entertainment. And of course, the most famous one of all, Catfish.
What was the last thing you said to Jess?
I just can't wait to see you and stuff. Are you Jess? Yeah, I'm Jess.
What kind of is that, man?
He thinks he's talking to some broad?
But he did think he was talking to a girl. as far as-
Exactly.
Right. So
Oh,
you're a good actress.
Are you the girlfriend police? Let me get into it. I honestly do hate cheaters. That's why I did it.
I'm talking to a guy.
What? The reason why you stupid idiot can never find who Tony is because I'm Tony. Like, deal with it.
Tony?
What, payback?
Yes, payback.
Yeah, you guys can look at it on your own time, and a lot of hilarious moments in that show. All right, moving on. Phones. We're not going to get too much into it because obviously, no, I don't think you guys have mobile phones. Maybe some of you do for the group project. So mobile phones with internet access made everything better or worse, depending on how you look at the internet. Anywhere you go in the world, you'll see the poorest people with mobile phones listening to songs on YouTube and looking at memes. I crossed the border from Thailand to Myanmar on like a wooden boat that I wasn't sure I was going to make it. Had my life jacket firmly secured to my chest. And the two girls in front of me were looking at Facebook on a phone. And as of today in this age, because of the low cost of cell phones, there are more people in the world with cell phones than they are running toilets. Think about it. If you live in the outdoors somewhere in some part of in another country, it can cost you hundreds of dollars to install a toilet and sewage system like that. But they have small, cheap Android phones. You can get an Android phone for like $50, $100 in another country, and it might not be like the level of an iPhone, but it's still a phone. You have music, you have social media sites, you have, most importantly, if you travel, WhatsApp. And easy access to media creating tools and apps on mobile phones have changed the world, as we'll look in a little bit. So users are creating things online. Anyone can be heard online. 2/3 of people online have created something from Facebook posts, especially blogs. So let me know in the comments. Are you guys bloggers? Are you guys bloggers? Are you TikTokers? Are you Instagram stars? Or do you just write things on Facebook? Do you share things on Facebook? You are creators. Everything that you do is create. Even commenting on something is a creator. And this is completely different than 20 years ago. Let's say, for example, if you guys get to Math 12, this is what we'll say. If you wanted to be a rapper, right? You had to stand. Let's use Big Sean. He had to stand outside of the radio station, spit a verse for Kanye West, get noticed, get signed, or maybe send his CD tapes to someplace. Now you just go on SoundCloud. You get a following. You go on YouTube, so forth. And this affects publishing, music, movies, shows, things like that, as we'll see. So a lot of websites, apps that we use online, we do the work for them. They wouldn't exist and wouldn't get paid if it wasn't for us. eBay, Wikipedia, YouTube, all social media sites, Yelp, Google reviews, Waze, dating sites, apps, early Amazon, Gmail, and Drive. If we all stopped using these sites, they wouldn't exist without us. They wouldn't have any content and they would cease to exist. We create the content, we drive up the views and the amounts they get per click, the ads. And as we saw in MySpace, once everybody left MySpace, it just died. There's nobody on there. There's nobody to create. Nobody wants to look at it. They get less money for ads and they're gone. So there's lots of content. There's a constant flow of information shared widely in digital formats. And also another part of the internet, it makes it easier than ever to organize and meet up. So let's say we were in the actual classroom and there's about 30 of us. 20 years ago, if I wanted to get everybody involved into a type of action, how would I? I would have to call you guys, send mail, send flyers. Now we can just create a Facebook group and we'll see a good example of that. So I don't know if you guys remember this. We'll watch the video. There was a racist lawyer going off in a restaurant in Manhattan.
Clients at your staff is speaking Spanish to customers when they speak being very violent. I mean, sometimes they do. Every person I listen to, he's spoken, she's speaking it. Is America.
He's very ignorant. And he shouldn't be allowed.
I will be following up. My guess is they're not documented. So my next thought is that each one of them coming out of my country, if they have proposed to come here and live off of my money, I pay for their welfare, I pay for their ability to be here.
Is that welfare? You're such an ignorant
asshole. They're running the place in Midtown Manhattan. The staff should speak English. Not Spanish.
Because of people like you, our nation
I'm calling ICE.
called ICE. So that they can speak.
Maybe you shouldn't eat that sandwich today. Take a break from the food.
Maybe you should get hit by the car.
Yeah, just because somebody speaks Spanish doesn't mean they're here illegally. That was very ignorant of him. So what happened to him? He has his face all over the internet. So first thing, they called for him to lose his job. I think he has his own law firm or whatever, the place where he was at, and they even went so far as to have him debarred. But even funnier, people rallied around him, especially in New York. We're not going to take this type of hate in New York. So they created this Facebook event where, and you can see how many people, like 26,000 people. This happened 2 years ago. They had a Latin party at front of his Upper West Side apartment. So collectively, the internet got together, found out where he lived, where he worked. He had fellow lawyers. They left his company and things like that. And what did they do? They had a taco truck. They had mariachi. They had people in sombreros and things like that. Let me see if I can get into the. Okay, I gotta go into the discussion. And people, let's see. If I could find a video of it. It was basically just a big party. The party looked pretty cool. I mean, free tacos. I would go there. You guys can look this up if you want. People have been posting too much nonsense in this since the event happened. But that's good for him. Moving on, I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but a lady in Australia filed a lawsuit because she was vegan and her neighbor was barbecuing meat and she didn't like the smell. What happened was a lot of people came online for a digital protest and said, we're going to collectively come together and do a block party in front of your house and grill massive amounts of meat. Unfortunately, that protest didn't kick off because the cops said they banned that. But you can see how nasty this online reaction can be, and you can see it even in the COVID-19 days with people protesting to reopen the states despite the fact that it could overwhelm the healthcare system in those areas. Let me know what you think in the discussion. So when we talk about online movements, the best online movements combine online and offline, where people are able to gather for protests through online forums, social networks, and in real time. But if something happens, so let's say we went to protest, they had tear gas deployed and my group was broken up. How am I quickly going to get information without my phone? How am I going to get any warnings of where to go, where to regroup, how to get milk or water sprayed so I can get the tear gas off of me? And this is why online is such a thing, is such a beautiful thing when you have protests, because somebody can be manning a Twitter account and say, hey, don't go up 4th Avenue. The cops are spraying tear gas. Go around the other way. We'll go back to that in a little bit, but we have one form of online protest is signing a petition. So with sites like change.org, we can make a difference from the couch or online, coffee at Starbucks. And of course, they have wacky petitions, and we'll see some of them here. If it ever loads. I know one of them is to change the national anthem to the Remix for Ignition R. Kelly song. It's a bunch of silly stuff. I'm sorry, that's not loading. I'll go back to it if it loads in the background. So social media helps jumpstart movements. Here are some examples: the Arab Spring, the Tea Party protest, the Black Lives Matter movement, the Occupy Wall Street movement, and the Me Too movement. User-generated content is changing social media as social movements, as we saw before. Look at all these movements I mentioned before. Before, you had to be part of a physical group. You could lose a group, not connect online, posting updates. So this is a big thing in other countries. When there's huge protests, they shut down. When I was in Indonesia, they blocked the internet for a few days in Jakarta because people were protesting some change in law or another. There's no internet. Why? Because they know, as we learned throughout the whole semester, that information is power. Information is so important. People can get together and make it harder if there wasn't the internet to get together and protest. Fortunately, I think they block it. They block social media sites, but you can use a VPN site. And people who have been to China or are from China in the class, let me know in the discussion how important the VPN sites are. I'll just show you this photo right here. Let's see if, sorry, I'm trying to go back to this one and see if it loads. So this is a photo from the Arab Spring Tahrir Square. It's a whole bunch of people in Egypt charging their phones because the phones are super important to these protests nowadays. Moving on, what's another way the internet has changed the world? As I mentioned before, the path to becoming famous has changed. You don't have to be in movies. You don't have to create music. You don't have to be on TV, which was hard enough to get into. Anyone with a mobile phone, Instagram account, YouTube account, TikTok account can become Insta famous and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's one guy. I don't know if you're a fan of him or not. He's super famous. He has, I think he has 5.8 million followers. He was front row. I think it was New York Fashion Week at all the big designers. He's booked to do shows and guest appearances. He's making lots of money for his antics, his craziness, which sometimes is hilarious. You can just go look at that yourself. Here's his profile. He's all over the world traveling, making videos and things like that. Also, he's providing more acceptance to the LGBT community with his profile. So if you wanted to write a book, be a rapper, start a radio show, be a model, even become a comedian, you can use social media to start. You don't need equipment. You just need a nice, maybe, you know, an iPhone or Samsung, and start recording. Justin Bieber was found by Usher, and I think his name was Scooter Braun, by posting his cover of an Usher song on YouTube. Let me go back. I wanted to show you this because it's very important. So I don't know how many of you know about this. Probably not a lot. It's very specific to the Hispanic community. So this is a guy called LeJuan James. He basically makes fun of Hispanic people. Think about primetime TV. Think about even Netflix. Netflix has recently created shows that cater to the Latino community, but there's not a lot. So how am I supposed to see versions of myself? These are where the comedians come in, and these are where they have hilarious things. Let me pick one. Oh, here's a funny one. Here we talk about a common thing in Hispanic households where the parents make you use the toothpaste so there's nothing in the thing, and I grew up like this as well. Basically saying he needs a toothpaste, but there's nothing in there. He's trying to take everything out. And then part two, we'll see how the mom can get more toothpaste.
Prove me wrong. Okay, mi amor, yo te voy a enseñar a ti ahora. Aprende. Noticia de última hora. Todo el mundo con la mano derecha arriba haciendo el grito de la María.
All right, you guys can look at his page on your own time. So why is this important? As I mentioned before, The old barriers to media production are gone, and that's why Instagram, YouTube, and other social media pages catered to minorities do so well. You could be from anywhere, and there's somebody to this Instagram comedian catering to you. I know there's an Instagram comedian who caters to Haitian and Caribbean community, and he sold out a club in the Bronx. He's making a lot of money doing these things, and he's providing a view that people cannot see themselves with. I cannot see myself laughing how my mom used to cut the toothpaste, growing up Hispanic, except for social media. You know, it's growing because of Netflix, but it's growing slowly. And that's because we hardly see media representation in Hollywood. And these people have millions of views. That guy that we saw, LeJuan James, has been sponsored by T-Mobile, McDonald's, other big brands. He has a book. So it's doing really well. And now there's other barriers. Think about it like 20 years ago, I wanted to reach out to, I gotta think, who's a celebrity? I don't know why, Justin Bieber, right? Hey, I wanted to get Justin Bieber my message 20 years ago. What would I have to do? I would have to wait outside his show, wait outside his appearances. Maybe he'll pass me, maybe he'll skip me. Now you can just tweet at Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber, you suck. Justin Bieber, Yummy is a whack song. Please do not create any more songs like this. Actually, I wish I should have showed you the video, and I'll try to do it next week. There was a video where they surprised a fan inside a car, and they said, "What do you think about Justin Bieber?" And the fan said, "I love Justin Bieber, but Yummy sucks." And Justin Bieber surprised him and like gave him a hug from behind. So here's one of the funny ways that you can reach celebrities. You can reach out to anybody and tell them something.
People who already don't like the president are criticizing him for coming here. President Bush would get the same thing when he did TV shows. It's the nature of the job, I guess, especially now that we have Twitter. But I think it's important to remember that presidents are people too. And from time to time, we give celebrities a chance to read some of the mean things people tweet about them. And tonight, we extended that same courtesy to our commander-in-chief. And that's for an all-President Obama edition of mean tweets.
So Jimmy Kimmel takes it a step further by having celebrities on his show, and there's a whole bunch of mean tweets. It's hilarious. Read the stupid tweets that people write at them. And I'm pretty sure Obama's not looking at this, or other celebrities, but Jimmy Kimmel has people in his staff find the funniest ones.
Obama's hair is looking grayer these days. Can't imagine why, since he doesn't seem to be one bit worried about all that's going on. Is there any way we could fly Obama to some golf course halfway around the world and just leave him there? Well, RW is Surfer Girl. I think that's a great idea. A 30 rack of Coors Light is $23 now at Sunstop. Thanks, Obama. How do you make Obama's eyes light up? Shine a flashlight in his ears. That's pretty good. Somebody send Obama some life hacks on how to be a good president. Ha ha. Like I bet that would help. LOL. You know, the LOL is redundant when you have the ha ha. I'm all right with the president wearing jeans. I'm not all right with the president wearing those jeans.
Can I just say something?
Those are the jeans that he was wearing.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with the jeans you wear.
I think they've got a point. Have you been working out?
All right. Has anybody in the class, let me know in the discussion, ever tweeted or wrote to a celebrity on Instagram and got a shout out? Let me know. My most famous follow was Little B, the rapper. Yeah, I don't know. Now you can reach out to companies. Before you had a bad flight or bad experience, you would wait hours and hours on hold just to grumble. And maybe you would just be like, oh, this sucks. You know, this flight sucks. They didn't serve. JetBlue didn't give me the cookies or the blue chips. And you keep it moving. But now, and I recommend everybody do this if you can't get through to a company, you go online and tweet at the company. Let's look at Delta's page. They'll get back to you. There's dedicated social media people who just respond to these things. It might be a little dry because there's not been any flights, but let's look at the tweet and replies. We have to actually click on it and see what she said. So there's not a lot of complaints, but if you go, you can see like crazy stuff. Oh, here's one. Melissa Gonzalez. I don't know where she's from. Still waiting to hear from Delta. You advertise no change fees, but you charge my 65-year-old mother change fees. Delta wrote back, hey, Melissa, would you mind sharing your mother's confirmation number via direct message, as well as her full name, routing, and date? You may initiate DM by following the link, blah, blah, blah. These things are hilarious sometimes, but I recommend if you can't get through, use social media, shame them, and get what you need. Travel credit, free flights, etc., or any big company. And we go on Yelp and post reviews. This restaurant sucks, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, what's happening with Yelp is going out of business because more people are moving to Google reviews. You know, when you Google Map something, the reviews come up. It's easier than doing a double search. So Yelp is probably going to become bankrupt in the next few years if it doesn't come up with a strategy. Oh, give me 1 second here. I'm going to pause. All right, we're back. All right, let's go. Moving on, we're going to look at other changes of mobile phones. We have everything on our phones: flashlights, GPS, cameras, video recorders, calculators, fitness trackers. And this has killed tons of companies and industries that make these products. It's easy to share parts of our lives. We're going to look at Uber, how Uber disrupted the taxi industry.
Despite all the recent controversies, there is no doubt that Uber has changed the way that we all get around.
All right, Alison Morris looks back at how the company shook up the taxi industry in tonight's edition of The Disruptors.
I spend a lot of my time at Fox 5 covering startups. One of the biggest compliments you could pay a startup is to call it a disruptor, changing not just local business, but entire industries across the country and around the world. Tonight, as part of our Disruptors series, we're taking a look at the Uber effect on the taxi industry.
We haven't had such a profound revolution going on since Henry Ford created the model. It's become larger than life in many ways.
In less than a decade, Uber seemingly has become larger than life. Travis Kalanick and partner Garrett Camp came up with the idea while trying to get a cab in Paris back in 2008. Their solution? Tap your smartphone, get a ride. Welcome to the Uber app. In the summer of 2010, Uber launched in beta in San Francisco with a seed round of just $200,000.
Maybe it's Uber's finally gotten to mass market.
And mass market it is. Today, Uber is valued at nearly $70 billion, has over 10,000 employees, and more than 1 million drivers operating in 528 cities around the world. Last year, they logged their 2 billionth ride, and now Kalanick's dreams for the brand extend well beyond ride-hailing to driverless cars and flying taxis.
If you're an inventor and a creator, you're constantly making new stuff. And you're constantly pushing the boundary or pushing beyond what people think is possible, maybe even what you think is possible.
But Uber hasn't become one of the most highly valued private businesses in the world without financial trouble.
They lost $2 billion last year. They are not making money in this company. And I think all of their eggs are in the autonomous vehicle basket.
And then there are the legal issues. Suits from Uber drivers over pay, sexual harassment suits from passengers, the latest harassment claim from a female former engineer at Uber. The company's hired former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder to review it. Not to mention entire countries and cities unwilling to do business with the brand because outside of New York City, Uber often doesn't follow local regulations.
New York City is the only city where they were forced to get a license like everybody else.
Still, cab drivers here in New York claim Uber is putting them out of business. But Douse, who was head of the TLC here in New York City for 9 years and first put credit cards into cabs, doesn't believe Uber is killing the taxi business at all.
They've lost about 13% of their revenues. How could you possibly say that a business is going under because they lost 13% of their revenues? I'm not saying that they haven't eaten into some of the business, they have, but also they've expanded the pie.
In fact, Uber has given rise to a number of other ride-hailing apps like Lyft, Juno, and Via that are evolving the way we travel, especially here in New York.
Our approach was always quite different.
All right, you guys can watch the rest of the video on your own time. I just wanted to mention some things about Uber. So traditional cab companies, we talked about newspapers and the internet. Why didn't traditional cab companies see the need? We talked about Kodak and the film. Why didn't traditional cab companies see some type of need to create a mobile app? They thought they're already killing it. We don't need to change. Perhaps if they developed the app before Uber, they wouldn't be an Uber. They could have more control. If the New York City Taxi Commission said, "Oh, we're going to create our own app," that would have made it easier. That would have made it better. If you go to Latin America and other countries, they have things like Cabify, which actually works through traditional cab companies. And so how has Uber affected the price of taxis in New York City? So if you didn't know, if you wanted to drive a yellow cab in Manhattan, New York City, you need to buy a medallion. And these things, the prices were kept skyrocketing for medallions. So the 139 medallions are part of collection of the more than 13,000 licensed medallions that are required to operate a yellow taxi in New York City. In 2013, a medallion was worth as much as $1.3 million. What people were doing, you had like immigrants, like Southeast, like Indians and things like that. And I forgot to show the video. What they would do is they would chip in, they would save working all the time. And they would chip in for the 1.3 million in loans and the rest, and they would do 8-hour shifts. You work the morning, afternoon, and night, and that's how they could afford it. They didn't have their own taxi. And that went down because of Uber and Lyft. Now the medallion is as low as $160,000. That's reasonable. I mean, $1.3 million to drive a New York City taxi is absolutely insane. And what you had was rich people were hogging the market, buying the medallions and renting them out to people. But what was the problem for New York City taxis? I don't know if you guys have much experience in this. And I'm going to show you this link that I, issue that I had with taxis. So here's Charles M. Blow. I think he writes for the New York Times. He says, "So very hard for me to feel sorry for New York City taxi drivers after having to explain to my kids for the 19th time why the cab passed us and picked us up with a white person next block." Yes, this was a huge problem. I have my story here in the next one. There was a lot of discrimination. If you were a minority or any type of minority, they wouldn't stop for you. And it was a bad, bad thing. I remember trying to get a cab with my friends in Manhattan. My friend had on the Yankee fitted and the Timbs, and we had to tell him, literally had to go tell him because we looked a little bit more dressed up. "Hey, go stand over there. If they see you, we're never going to get a taxi." And we knew we'd never get a cab back to the Bronx. They wouldn't charge us extra. They were getting a cab that says the Bronx that says $100. No way. It wasn't that much. There's a lot of discrimination. Now at Uber, I remember my friend, he's from Bangladesh, so he's dark skinned, and he was like, "Listen, we got to get Uber." He was always the big one coming up to Spotify. "You got to get Uber. There's no more waiting outside." And you would wait so long, like more than half an hour to get a cab, and they would all pass you and stop at the next corner. So I don't feel sorry for them because of that. I feel sorry for the hardworking immigrants that lost the value and were in debt, but they should have used a better system and developed it and stopped being so racist. Here's a quote. "Taxi companies were 73% more likely not to pick up a black customer than a white customer, and 1 in 4 black riders never reached their destination. When they were picked up, black riders waited 52% longer than white riders." It was a study in LA found. So of course there's different Ubers. In Thailand, you can get, it's a different company though. In Dominican Republic, you can get an Uber Moto Taxi, which is basically like a dirt bike scooter, and you just get them back. There's boat Ubers. There's a bunch of crazy ones. We have the rickshaw Uber in, where's this, in India. Yeah, they do have it in Thailand, but I think Thailand sold it. Uber is a different company in Thailand now. And they have helmets. We have the boat one in Istanbul. We have the Uber Chopper. And it's interesting with some of you might be thinking, why would I ever take a little scooter in Thailand? These countries are full of horrible traffic, like ridiculous. You think New York City traffic is bad? No. So oftentimes, I remember one time when I went to Thailand, it took me like about 40 minutes to get somewhere with this little scooter, because when the car stopped, they like kind of go through and you feel like you're gonna hit a mirror. If not, it'll take you 2 hours to get somewhere in a regular car. There's some cons to Uber. Uber's not entirely safe. I remember people have gotten hurt and some people even killed because Uber doesn't do the background checks in certain places like the traditional cab company. So here are some things how Uber is bad. They don't have professional driving qualifications, faulty background system. So reform ex-con to apply for Uber. She filled out the application and she passed the background check. She had been charged for burglary, drug possession, and assault. They don't take a liability. Risky for drivers. Some people don't want to drive Uber. My brother said he didn't want to drive Uber. Over here in Patchogue, they have the clubs and bars, and my brother was thinking about, I was telling him he should do Uber. He said, no, people get drunk, they throw up, they fight, and they like mess up the car. Let me know what you think about Uber. And a big thing why newspapers have failed, the quick guide. So really quickly, if you wanted to sell a car or buy a car, if you wanted to look for an apartment in the last month, well, not now. How would you do that? You go on Craigslist. So all the Craigslist ads were in newspapers. I remember when I was a kid, my dad needed to buy a car. He needed to find a job. He would spend hours at the table, that old traditional thing, coffee mug, circling stuff. And to do that, you had to pay money. You had to pay like $100 to put that in the newspaper. So it was literally thousands and thousands of dollars every day that the newspaper was getting. They basically went down to zilch. And again, same thing we look at Uber. Why couldn't the newspaper companies create their own online model for classifieds? They didn't, and they failed. Let me know what you guys think about the discussion. I want to know how else the internet has changed. Have you ever been catfished? If you're willing to admit. If you ever reach out to a celebrity. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for the papers again, and I'll talk to you guys soon.